around the place, which is what it's gonna get. Because we're back.
Top Gear is back with a new series and more cars than ever. From now until Christmas, we'll be mainlining motors. Tonight, I'm in La La Land with America's star-spangled sports car, the new Chevrolet Corvette. Steve Berry reckons that 90s motorbikes are the best ever. And Tiff Needell drives some precious metal through Baseldon High Street.
But before all that, the Ford Puma, a car that needs to be approached with, extreme caution. My worries have nothing to do with the looks. Sure, the wheel arches are a little too high, like it's walking around on stilts. And the rear window is as gruesome as a flesh wound, but as a whole, this is striking and different. It is devastatingly handsome. Even the super-disciplined men of the King's Own Royal Border Regiment, men who are trained to kill using nothing but their bare nipples, fell to pieces when they saw it. So what's my problem then? Well, squaddies are always going to be distracted by a girl in a micro-skirt. But if she spends the evening talking about knitting, they'll quickly lose interest. And that's the thing with the Puma. Under the Britpop clothes, it's a Fiesta. Of course, there's nothing wrong with a Fiesta in the same way that there's nothing wrong with a packet of boiled rice. But even if you bake rice in a gold-plated agar and then toss it and fry it and wash it with Evian and serve it on a piece of priceless Ming, it's still rice and not a lobster thermidor. I worry, therefore, that we're dealing here with Enid Blyton dressed up like Xena, the warrior princess. And the interior does nothing to alter that perception. When you first climb on board, your eye is immediately drawn to all this silver stuff and the metal gear lever. But if you peel the costume jewellery away, you're left with a dashboard that's been lifted lock, stock and fuel gauge from a Fiesta. You see now what I mean by approaching the Puma with extreme caution. If it's just a glorified shopping trolley, it's no big deal. Ford was obviously well aware of this, which is why their advertisement tries to ally the Puma to the three coolest things on the planet. The Shelby Mustang, the Bike Chase and the Great Escape, and Steve McQueen. Clever stuff, but good marketing doesn't necessarily mean good car. You know what really set the alarm bells ringing, though? The price. The Puma costs £14,500, and that just isn't enough. I mean, if you were offered a villa in Barbados for 40p, you'd know there was something wrong with it. So, what then is wrong with the Puma? Well, this particular car leaks. The rear visibility's not up to much, and the back seats are more snug than one of Gilbert O'Sullivan's tank tops. So, what do I like about it, then? Pretty well everything else. Hear that? Engine noise. Not to everyone's taste, but it serves as a constant reminder that the Puma is rather more than a bit of clever styling garnished with some top-dollar marketing. It is a serious driver's car, as I will now demonstrate. So, how have they turned it from a Fiesta into a chicken chili jalfrezi? Who cares? In fact, the suspension has been toughened so that it changes direction, well, like a Puma, actually. Amazingly, this car is a match for the Peugeot 106 GTI. On my own. I'm enjoying this. I think I'll keep going. Oh, and the way that the feel right now. Oh, thanks to a new 1.7-litre engine, this car accelerates like a small dog that's been drop-kicked by Rob Andrew. In bald figures, it gets from 0 to 60 in 8 seconds and can hit 130. But power is not the most amazing thing about this new engine. It's made in Spain, but then it's put on a plane and flown all the way to Japan, where Yamaha fiddle with it for 25 minutes. Then it's put back on another plane and flown all the way back to Spain, where it's put in the car. Mad. And maddening that the Puma is only available in limited numbers from a limited number of Ford dealers. However, don't muddle up exclusive with expensive. I've managed to average nearly 40 miles to the gallon, and because it falls into Group 12, insurance companies virtually pay you to drive it. In every way, the Puma is much, much better than Vauxhall's hopeless Tigra. But then it trounces everything because it's cheap and fast and good-looking and enormous fun, and on top of all that, really quite practical. I mean, would you just look at the size of the boot? For a car this size, it's absolutely huge. And the rear seats fold down. You know, if all the cars that I test in this series of Top Gear turn out to be even half as good as this, it's going to be one cracking autumn.
To many, a church isn't really a church without a spire. And at Baseldon, all they've got is a model of what would be the tallest glass tower in the world. So, a whist drive, a garden fete, a jumble sale to raise the funds? No. How about a gathering of some of the most mouth-watering racing machinery ever assembled? The Millennium Commission have put up half the money, so a collection of 10 decades of motorsport seemed appropriate. It was a dream come true for the man who was the driving force behind the day, a racing fanatic himself, the rector of Baseldon, Canon Lionel Webber.
A couple of years ago, I did Duncan Hamilton's memorial service. And Adrian, his son, who owns the C-Type that Duncan won Le Mans with in 1953, said to me, "What do you want for doing it? A crate of wine?" I said, "No, lend us the C-Type for a couple of hours." Well, God, he did. And then he suggested that I might have it in Baseldon and drive it round, take the kids out, raise a fiver. Then somebody said, "Well, why don't we get 1 or 2 other cars?" And I suggested to the district council that we might close the roads, and it's happened, you know, and it's just sort of grown from there. It's tremendous.
The support that Lionel has got from the motorsport fraternity is quite amazing. Every era from the 1903 Gordon Bennett Napier to my own 1997 Lister Storm has a representative, and there are some truly exceptional pieces of motorsport history here today, all waiting to have a blast round the streets of Baseldon. It's rare indeed that permission is granted for roads to be closed for motorsport, so this one-off event was even more special. Hundreds of volunteers and a very cooperative police force had the crowd safely fenced off as the carnival atmosphere awaited the arrival of the cars. Oh yes, and the drivers hoped the cameras had been put out of focus for the day. Sterling Moss was there in his 1958 Maserati 250F. From 1970 came the Ferrari 512S driven by Derek Bell and Jackie Stewart's March 701 Grand Prix car. there was a parade just for Ferraris, including Mario Andretti's rare Can-Am 712P. Derek Bell was now in a 1962 268 SP, chased by Chris Amon in the 512, both following a 1960 Grand Prix Dino 246. Classic sports car shapes of the Le Mans Lola T70 and Ford GT40 contrasted sharply with the brutish Can-Am McLaren M8. And then, of course, there was the Lister Storm.
I've driven round the streets of Monte Carlo, the streets of Macau, the roads of Spa-Francorchamps, and of course Le Mans. I never thought I'd be driving round the streets of Baseldon.
The whole idea of coming here and what Lionel Webber's done to get this together is in my mind, absolutely fantastic. I mean, we're not going to be racing, but we are showing the people what real cars used to look like.
How did you become involved?
I don't know. He's one of those guys you meet and he gets an idea, and the next thing you know, he's on the phone to you, and you get things through the place, and you meet him, and he pops in to see you, and you suddenly find, oh my gosh, somehow I'm involved with him, and then it's us together.
We may not have been racing, but Brian Moore in his 1925 Bugatti 35B was giving someone a ride they'd never forget. Jim Clark's 1963 Lotus 25 was sandwiched in the middle of a pack of more modern single-seaters. And what's that? Oh yes, there were bikes as well. There were Lister Jaguars and Jaguars from the 50s.
Well, on my Lister Storm was one of the fastest cars around Baseldon. Perhaps this is for the spirit of Baseldon. A drive in one of the D-types that went to Le Mans in 1955. Part of the team that won the event with Mike Hawthorne and Ivor Buib. Wonderful, historic cars.
All the famous Jaguars were there to be enjoyed. C-types, D-types, and E-types. There really was something for everyone. Whatever decade of motorsport took your fancy, there was a chance to watch, admire, and dream of heady days.
Everybody seems thoroughly to have enjoyed themselves. I don't know, you know, the crowds were tremendous. The sun has been incredible. I think it's just been a fabulous day. And there were so many things. There was Jimmy Clark's Lotus 25 going up the road. I found that very nostalgic. And then we ran all those Ferraris together. You know, I mean, the sight and the sound of those was just something that will live with you for a long time. Yeah, there are a lot of memories that will begin to unpack themselves, I think. Yeah, very special.
Get him down here. Lateral G's .93. What? Speed?
Miles per hour, 150. Push in, 500%.
Pushing in 500%.
Speed, 160 and climbing.
What is going on?
We're tracking them.
Enhance that.
Speed, 170, still climbing.
Does anybody have any idea what this is?
I do.
Well?
It's the next vet.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire! The Chevrolet Corvette, Uncle Sam's most romantic motor car. But the Vet has always been a bit loud and raucous, a little too, dare I say it, American for our tastes. Which is why General Motors never bothered trying to peddle their drastic plastic slingshot back in Blighty. Until now, that is. Because for the first time in 44 years, the Chevrolet Corvette is being officially sold in Britain. General Motors are now convinced that it's both desirable and refined enough to tickle European hearts. A whisker short of 40 grand buys you a 339 bhp transatlantic torpedo with an engine note deeper than Dean Martin. But unlike its illustrious but rather fossilized forebears, the latest Vette is as modern as Microsoft. It's got drive-by-wire throttle control, an aluminium 5.7 V8, composite body, anti-lock brakes, 4-speed auto or 6-speed manual. This is no overchromed driveway dinosaur, but a seriously quick and accurate supercar. Slam the hammer down to the shag pile and it will actually pull 1G. And like all Detroit iron, the Corvette's list of gimmicks and gadgets reads like the Gettysburg Address. You've got leather trim, power memory seats, electric windows, CD player, traction control, switchable suspension, trip computer, even a little device you press to tell you what the tire pressures are from inside the car. And because it's American, and Americans just love value for money, it's all as standard. Ah, you say, surely like every Corvette before it, this one's just another wild child, a symbol of suburban rebellion. Well, you'd be wrong, because the Vette has grown up and come of age. There's still plenty of beefcake brawn, but it's learnt a few manners along the way. You get a generous 3-year warranty, a civilized 22 miles to the gallon, plus an incredible 100,000-mile major service interval. And second-hand values look set to be the other side of epic. Who said supercars couldn't be sensible? So the $64,000 question is, does it go as well as it looks? Well, how can I put this? How about 100 miles an hour in second gear? How about 0 to 60 in 5 seconds? How about a better power-to-weight ratio than a Porsche 911 Carrera? How about an apocalyptic maximum speed of 171 miles an hour? Is it fun? I should Coco. I am having a very nice time. But is Merry England ready for such in-your-face muscular machismo? What about the Corvette's street-strutting image? I turned to LA's lifestyle arbiters for help.
If you like sports cars, you should definitely buy the Corvette.
This is the car, okay?
I'm in love with it. Love at first sight. This is a beautiful car, all right?
Nothing cooler. Americans make anything cooler than the Corvette.
This is style, this is speed, this is luxury, this is class. Ladies, it make you look good.
Good way to get girls.
Okay, we have a spin in it. Yeah. We'll bring it back.
What's good for Sunset Boulevard is also good for Sunbury-on-Thames. But how does it compare to the competition? Well, against the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, the Lotus Esprit and the TVR Cerberus, GM needn't worry. The Mitsubishi is uninvolving, and as for the Lotus and TVR, I'd worry about all those bits that keep falling off. So, put away your prejudices about American metal. The '97 Corvette is a true blue supercar. There is, however, a single but spoiling our fun here, and that is that General Motors will not be importing this car into the United Kingdom in right-hand drive form. As far as I'm concerned, that is a tragedy of biblical proportions, because if they did, they would be offering one of the best value sports cars on the market today. Like it, I love it.
Cumberland Gap, 15 miles at the Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, 15 miles at the Cumberland Gap.
In the post-war period, the motorcycle world revolved around Britain, with its hub in the heart of England, the Birmingham bike industry. The Japanese were thought of as lightweight manufacturers of lightweight machines, and red-blooded bikers dreamed of names like Velocette, Triumph, AJS Norton, BSA, and Matchless. Many believe that this was biking's golden age, a lost Eden full of featherbed frames, bathtub bodywork and pudding basin helmets. The measure of a motorcyclist was in how many swings he took to stir his companion into life. These days, there's a small mountain of magazines published every month to keep the faith that we never had it so good, and we never, ever will.
And, of course, they're all completely wrong. Because the best time to be a biker wasn't back in the good old days, it's right here and now. And coming up are 5 very good reasons why.
If you think the only things to come out of the Italian seaside resort of Rimini are sunburnt bricks and rip-off Ray-Bans, then think again, because it's also the home of Italy's finest bespoke bike builder, Bimota. And this pouting cantilevered starlet is their YB11 Superleggera. I say theirs, but of course, large parts of it, like the tarmac-chewing Brembo brakes, the uncompromising Pasoli suspension, and scorching 20-valve Yamaha Thunder Ace engine, are bought in because they represent the very best of their breed. Money isn't an issue for Bimota or their customers, and let's face it, everything seems expensive in Italian. But the ability to fill a shopping list doesn't make you Raymond Blanc, and it's the way that the Italians stir the mixture of exotic ingredients that makes your mouth water. Maybe that's why there are people queuing up to pay twice the price of a new 900 Suzuki with the same 4-cylinder 160-mile-an-hour performance. Still, the outrageous membership fees guarantee that the Bimota experience is an exclusive one.
The Bimota YB11 is a brutal, exhilarating motorcycle. But you don't just get a motorcycle for your 16 grand, you get a mobile sculpture that makes Michelangelo's David look like one of the dummies in Burton's window. But of course, good looks aren't everything, which is just as well for this motorcycle, the BMW R1100 GS.
The BMW R1100 GS is what happens when form is really allowed to follow function, although no one's ever been quite sure what the function of this monster trailer is. The knobbly rubber, heavy-duty suspension and high and wide handlebars suggest that it's meant for the rough stuff. However, anyone contemplating an off-road excursion on a 10 grand motorbike weighing in at 500 pounds plus would require long legs, deep pockets and the upper body strength of an orangutan. The truth is that this Bavarian big banger is happiest on the black stuff, where it's equally at home carrying you, a companion and all of your kit on a transcontinental trip in a surprising degree of comfort, or scratching along the back roads, scuffing its cylinders in the twisty bits.
Do you know what? This is a very peculiar motorcycle. For a start, the front end is really a back end. And at the back, well, there's something even stranger. This engine was designed on a piece of papyrus by a bloke with a quill pen 1,000 years ago. And as far as I know, this is the only motorcycle in the whole world that's got 2 front mudguards. But do you know what? I think it's a belter.
But if the Titanic Teuton sounds too much like hard work, then can I suggest that you invest in American iron? £12,000 worth should do the trick. And I promise you'll see a return that can't be measured on the Dow Jones Index. Harley-Davidsons were the preferred two-wheel totem of Thatcher's children, and cynics suggested that in the 90s, the bubble would burst with a bang.
And they were wrong. Boy, were they wrong. This is a wheeled Wurlitzer, and it only plays original rock and roll 45s. If the 59 Cadillac had been a bike, then this is what it would have looked like. Yes, Elvis has left the building permanently, but I reckon he's been reincarnated as a motorcycle. The king is dead. Long live the Road King.
There was nothing that could hold me or could keep away from you.
And do you know the best thing about it? The Road King looks like a toy, but it's really a tool. You could ride it every day. And that Kevlar-reinforced drive belt, automatic transmission and big-hearted Evo engine have the same service intervals as an anvil.
But my way was dark at night, it would shine as bright as light when I was trying to get to you.
If you really must relive the glory days of British biking, then I can think of no better way than to get yourself behind the high sit-up and beg handlebars of Triumph's stripped-down Street Fighter, the T509, the Speed Triple. Retired rockers and geriatric greasers would recognise the uncompromising stance of a bike like this. It looks like it could do the tongue stood on its back wheel. But the top quality frame, wheels and brakes mean that unlike the good old days, you'd probably make it round the next bend with a big grin plastered all over your face.
The Triumph 509 is a damn fine motorcycle, and nothing sounds this good this side of a TVR Cerbera. But the best is yet to come.
For a big sports bike, the Honda Firestorm is laughably easy to ride, and that inspires huge confidence. You find yourself braking later, leaning over further, finding that you never seem to be in the wrong gear because that big-hearted V-twin just makes power everywhere. The Firestorm makes 108 brake horsepower at 9,000 RPM, 71 foot-pounds of torque at 7,000 RPM, and costs just under £8,500. Those figures are not in dispute, but I'm here to give an opinion, and I'm going to give it. Everyone I know that's ridden a Firestorm comes back using words like soft, friendly, reassuring, but that belies its ability and pace on real-world roads. It's not as pretty as a Ducati, but it was never going to be. The Honda Firestorm is the best all-round road bike I've ever ridden. It is the Ian Botham of bikes.
Some of you will have already worked out that each one of these bikes has a different country of origin. The Bimotor is Italian, the Triumph British, the Honda Japanese, the BMW very German, and the Harley-Davidson, well, it ain't Swiss, is it? These are 5 of the finest motorcycles in the world, but perhaps not the best 5. There isn't a Ducati, for goodness sake. But they are all very different, and I'd be happy to give any one of them garage space. That is why the motorcycle market in this country has doubled in the last 2 years. Competition. And that is why now is truly the golden age of biking.
Next week, the promise of a great autumn falls flat. I get to test the new Toyota.